Can the Prime Minister survive this?
No. I'd be very surprised if she can last the week at this point. Just to give you an idea of how much confusion there is over this, both the statements you made just now are currently being denied. The whips now say that they did hand in their verbal resignation, but they're now going to carry on. And Suella Braverman is saying she resigned, she wasn't fired. So the fact that there is this kind of confusion over the person who is running the parliamentary party of Britain's governing party, and the person in charged with maintaining law and order in the UK is quite terrifying.
So how does this play out in British politics then? Because I know the general election is not until 2025.
Late 24, but you can hold one earlier if you want to. Britain doesn't have a written constitution. There's always that much more give in Britain than there is elsewhere. The reason you don't likely have an election much before then is because at this point the Conservatives would lose horribly. Frankly, at this point, I think it is impossible for the Conservatives to win the next election. They just have to hope that the Labour Party loses the next election, which is still just about possible. But what is intriguing, if you take a look at the UK gilts market, it's actually stabilised quite nicely today. Gilt yields fell fairly significantly, while everybody else's yields, as we've been discussing, went up. 30-year gilt yields are now below 30-year Treasury yields. So from the market point of view, the crisis, I wouldn't want to say it's over, but the acute phase of the crisis is over. And that's basically because politicians are in such a mess that the Bank of England and the Treasury can be, will just be left to get on with it.
John, this government has almost become an object of ridicule now in the United Kingdom.
I wouldn't agree with you almost. Carry on. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, I'll just refer to the Sun newspaper, which is running a live feed right now of a head of lettuce alongside a picture of Liz Truss asking which one's going to last longer. But in realistic sense, what needs to be done here? Because there has to be a rule change to remove Liz Truss, or will she resign? Which of these two things is more likely?
If I were her, because she's still not that old and has a few more decades of life to enjoy, I would try to salvage some dignity and resign. But I'm not her. She obviously has a different way of operating from many of us. I would imagine that it's going to be the easiest way for her to go. That the thing that is tricky is that the Conservatives have to choose a successor, and the current rules mean that if you have more than two candidates, you whittle them down to two and have to put those two to the party in the country, who are in many cases considerably more conservative than the country as a whole. Many of them still feel bitter about the fall of Boris Johnson. So they have the reason. If she does survive another few days, it will be because the Conservatives are trying to work out how they can sort themselves out, how they can change the rules.
All right. Yes, and I was actually incorrect. It's the Sun, it's the Star, not the Sun, that's running that competition. But in a cosmological sense, those two things are the same.